Hey Gambit lovers, in the very first round of my Gambit duel versus the one and only Eric Rosen, I got to play my favorite opening. But he surprised me with a brand new weapon against the Busch-Gass Gambit, and so I wasn't quite able to refute it over the board. But I have now, after tons and tons of research with engines and databases, I guess that doesn't count the same, but we still had a super crazy game. I'll show you the Twitch stream of it, and I'll be right back after to show you all the really fun lines and what you should actually play against this new novelty in the Busch-Gass Gambit, the Rosen Countergambit, instead of what I did in the game. Long live the Busch-Gass Gambit, and enjoy.
Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go. Oh, Busch-Gass. Okay.
Wait.
You get to play one of your favorites, and you'll be black too.
Is it really Busch-Gass? It looks like Danish to me.
Oh, it doesn't sync up.
Oh,
I
okay.
wonder, because you're using, it's just like a, that's
What?
funny. It doesn't actually sync up.
Okay. All right, well, we'll go with yours because you're the spinner.
Okay. Yeah, I guess even though it's the same source, it will show different gambits.
All right,
if you
wait.
have it added
I'm black
different
and I'm
places.
playing the Busch-Gass, so I'm not complaining. That's a very exciting way to start this.
Yeah, there's no need to complain. Okay.
All right. Are we gonna mute our zooms?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay. Good luck.
Good luck. All right, chat. Let's do this. This is a very exciting way to start the stream. We are playing the Busch-Gass Gambit against the one and only Eric Rosen. Our favorite opening. So he has to play here bishop c4. So Busch-Gass is similar to the Stafford a little bit in that knight takes e5, we play knight c6. But of course, bishop c4 is the most common move. Now knight takes e5, it's about +2. And now this is about +3. So we're offering the f7 pawn, bishop takes f7, or knight takes f7. Knight takes f7 is going to look a little bit like the Traxler, actually, as if the knight came from here, but it launches some really crazy lines. You guys will have to check out the video. Hopefully, one of my mods can link it in the chat here. This move I've never seen. He has surprised me. I feel like I have a lot of options right now. All right, I have knight takes, knight e4. This seems dangerous. I think... He really wanted to surprise me, and he did. Okay, let's play bishop d4. Hopefully maybe this won't change too much, but it does change something, because now maybe he has his bishop that can help develop. Okay. So now I can just go queen e7. I can play bishop f2 like before. This is interesting. I think, yeah, he's played d4, so he's just getting a better version if I just transpose. That's my main concern. I have like check, take the bishop somehow. Okay, let's just actually play queen e7. I think the transposition is going to be not very good. So, yeah, basically bishop f2 would have looked the same except with the d-pawn there. But without the d-pawn, so basically bishop takes f2, king takes, knight e4, king g1. Then I would have played queen h4 to threaten checkmate over here. So now my idea was to play bishop f2 in this position, actually. And queen c5 check. However, I have queen c5 right away. This is some pretty crazy stuff. All right, let's play bishop f2. So, oh, my other idea, knight e4. Maybe I just play knight e4. Because he doesn't have king g1. Because I have this check. And if he plays king f1, Hmm. All right, maybe I should just come get this bishop. Come get this bishop, collect that knight. Knight e4, I think the issue was king f1. And then he had queen f3 to block. So now, what happens if I take this? Yeah, or can I throw that in? I'd like to throw that in. No, let's just take here. Basically, I want to castle as soon as possible so I can keep attacking. But yeah, he's gonna try and save his king. All right, maybe this could have got. Oh, I also don't have time. That's a problem. So, what's material now? I'm just down in exchange, I think. Yeah, I maybe I could have been a little bit more ambitious somehow. Oh, that's a good move. He was attacking b7 and trying to trade queens. All right, I'm trying to take e4, but I just don't have a lot of time on my clock here. Spend too much time in the opening. It's actually not that clear, but I think the clock is pretty clear. Yeah. Damn. All right. Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know his d4 here.
Good
This
game.
move.
I think time was a factor towards the end there.
Yeah, that was a very good game. I didn't know your d4. I've never faced this.
Yeah, d4. Well, it's an idea in the Traxler that
Okay.
I saw. Like, Naroditsky has a video recommending d4 in Traxler, and I think it makes sense in this line as well.
Yeah, because my issue was, so if I just play bishop takes d4 and then transpose with my bishop f2 stuff, then you don't have the pawn on d2 anymore. Active. Yeah. So this was interesting. I will have to check this. You will have prompted
it's emerging theory. Yeah,
it's emerging theory in the Busch-Gass Gambit. This will go on YouTube along with hopefully a refutation to this.
Yeah, d4 is actually like the fourth most common, but I think it should be a strategy of mine to try and play lesser common moves to avoid all your nasty prep.
Yeah, it was a very good strategy.
Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, you're definitely very quick. I'll have to be quicker in the next games.
Yeah, well, I think we both spent a lot of time. Like in the first 10 moves, we both spent like more than half our time.
Right. I was like trying to make all the sacrifices work.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing about Gambit play.
Right. No, you defended that very, very, very well.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's refute that Rosen Countergambit. So we begin with e4, e5. Let's flip the board here. Offering the pawn once in this context. And if you guys haven't watched the original Busch-Gass Gambit theory video, it is right above me right now, or maybe that way right now. And you should certainly watch it. But so here, after knight takes e5, knight c6, we are offering the pawn with knight takes f7. And in this line, as I mentioned in the game, the point is we are able to play queen h4 here, and white has no development. However, the way Eric played it, by playing d4 first, is changing things. Because now if we play bishop takes d4 and try and get back to our same sacrifice, things are not going to be quite the same. Because now white is able to play bishop e3, for example. This bishop gets out, this queen can be used, and white's doing completely fine here. So we need to find a different solution. We cannot just allow them to just push that d-pawn and get away with it with d4. And so what I'm going to recommend to you is to play knight takes d4. Knight takes d4, of course, f7 is still hanging. If we wanted to deal with f7, we could play knight takes e5. They should take the knight, or else this bishop's going to fall. And then knight takes e4. Looks like this is good. It looks like now we're attacking f2. We're not even down anything here. But white here has a nasty trick. You can pause the video and try and figure out what white should play. Bishop takes f7 check. King takes, using the fact that this knight's unprotected. White's able to just go check, pick up the knight, and is now just up a pawn, and we can't castle any longer. So we play here knight takes d4 and launch some crazy, crazy lines. So here, I'm going to cover knight takes f7 and bishop takes f7, of course, but I'll also cover castles, and the best move for white, this is a line that maybe kind of comes close to refuting it, is bishop to e3, but it's only played 9 times out of 510 times, so you guys are probably good. But let's get to knight takes f7. And so knight takes f7, we no longer have this crazy sacrifice, but we play queen e7. And so the point is, we still have this bishop that's still going to be helpful, but we've been able to launch another piece into the attack in exchange for white getting this pawn out the way in order to help them use their own pieces. And so here I'll also cover a couple moves such as e5 and castles that have been played, but of course the most common move is just taking the rook. And now we must resist the temptation of queen takes e4, because if we just play queen takes e4, white has actually played bishop e3, allowing just a simple capture over here. However, I can't really recommend this, even though black's winning here. White should just play king f1. And at this point, I think white is really just largely winning. It's recommending black try to trade queens. King f1 is important to just actually defend g2. So even though a lot of people are falling into this, it's tricky everywhere, I'm going to recommend to you the better move, d5. d5 is going to be a very common idea in these sorts of lines. Not only are we attacking the bishop, putting pressure on this pin, but we're trying to get our own bishop out and castle our king. And so here, white needs to be very, very precise. White needs to know to play bishop e2, as 9 out of 18 people have done. For example, if bishop to b3, white here will lose to queen takes e4 check, king f1, only move. For example, bishop e3 will lose to, I believe, just queen takes g2. Knight f3 coming, bishop g4 coming, and here, white has lost many different ways. So king f1, white needs to hold on, but now a brilliant, brilliant move. If you didn't already see it, you should pause the video and recommend what to play here for black. The move is bishop to h3. This idea has come up in a couple other lines, but it is just gorgeous, gorgeous move to attack g2. So queen e1 is not even possible to try and trade queens, because we're just going to take this and just take the queen. Of course, if you take our bishop, this is checkmate, with our knight covering that square. So white needs to play, and also f3 is not helping, because we can take this. And again, they can't take it because of a fantastic pin here. So white needs to play rook g1 to hold g2, or else we're taking it. And now knight g4, we just keep coming after them, threatening checkmate here. For example, checkmate. A brilliant threat of knight h2, and so here white's completely lost. They can play bishop e3. It's their only way to stay alive for a second, to be able to have king e1. They blocked our queen. It's no matter. We take it and castle. Just castle it, and it's just amazing how we're using all of our pieces. Everything's hanging here. Everything's hanging, but all we need to do is just play rook f8, and white is going to lose. For example, let's say they take this bishop. This is checkmate coming. Here, checkmate. And e takes d4, I think, is an even faster death, because now our queen controls everything here. So basically, it's just this rook coming to f8, and white just has no pieces that are able to stop that. So that's a brilliant solution. However, white needs to know to play the moves shown here, bishop back to e2. And it is the most common move. However, after queen takes e4, things are tricky for them, because g2 is hit, and it's a very, very serious threat. However, most people deal with it by castling, which just offers us to take this bishop. And so we take the bishop with check, and things are already looking very good for us. However, there is one move here. It is an absolutely brilliant move. I'm not even going to challenge you guys to pause the video here. I think it's that difficult. But the move is king to f8. It's a crazy move. And so let me explain the logic of this. So number one, we're getting off the e-file, and I'll explain to you why that's so important, that we must do it right now in this ridiculous way. But number two, in like a lot of lines, we're already taking one piece. We're just going to kind of take another piece, is the worst case scenario. And we've already gotten 2 pieces and 1 pawn for the rook, which is a massive haul. And you'll note that this position is very much winning. So the key line was f3, queen to e5, and rook to e1. And in this position, if our king was on e8, white would win that knight. However, this is a good pause the video moment. Black to play. If you said knight to g3 check, you are a genius. Takes g3. Our bishop does a great job controlling that square. Checkmate. And there's no king here, so it's a legal move to be able to play queen h5. So that's a great, great finish. And white needed f3 because if rook e1, we just play bishop to g4. And here, white is losing. I believe bishop to g4 is the move, and yes. Basically, yeah, bishop f3 is a great idea. You can see here, if it's like our move again. Now if they take it, that's checkmate. White has a couple other moves. So like, let's say knight c3. You can just trade it, and even like this is what I'm saying. Even just bishop to d7, and black is winning because this knight is toast, and like all of black's pieces are playing so well, and we've gotten, as I said, a bishop, knight, and pawn for that rook. White, there's one other fun line. So it is knight to d2, which I think is a pretty logical move. Queen e7. We need to hang on to this knight. Rook e1. Bishop out. And now f3. And so this is where things are looking like, okay, wait, maybe how is this working out? How are we saving that knight, right? It looks maybe a little bit suspicious. Now we have our bishop under attack as well. But we play here rook e8. And now when they take our bishop, we have a brilliant move, check. And there wasn't even a great defense for this in this position against check, because how do you defend this rook with this bishop all jammed in? But check, so they take the knight too, check. And now we just take a lot of stuff. And here, this is forced checkmate. We're down a piece, but we have forced checkmate here. So king h3, knight f2. This is checkmate. And we can't let the king escape to g5, so we gotta go check. This is all forced. And now I think you get to pick your checkmate, rook e5 or rook h1. So that's a fun line. We really just use all our pieces. They're just coming in quick. Bishop coming in, rook coming in, and it just really overwhelms white's defenses. It's classic Busch-Gass Gambit stuff. The queenside stuff is still not getting in time. And so here, white needs to know to play a move never been played before. It's king to f1 in order to reinforce g2. It's actually like the only way to guard it. You'll note here, f3. I believe this is another good pause the video moment. It is knight takes knight takes c2 is the better move. After king to f1, we play knight to e3 check. Trying to take the queen, and so they should take ours, and we are doing just fine trying to threaten checkmate. I had thought knight takes f3 was working, but apparently this is only a draw. But it's a very interesting line. Anyway, king to f1 is the top recommendation of the engine. After which, again, we have this brilliant move, bishop h3. Bishop h3 to attack over here. White's only move is f3. And we come back queen e6, and the position is actually pretty interesting. They can't take this, because we play queen takes h3, and after king to e1, I believe just queen, yes, we just castle our king. Rook over, knight takes f3, and white is completely overwhelmed. So they need to know which gambits to accept, which ones to decline. And so here, like for example, they can play knight out, and after king castles here, knight a4 is a tricky move to find. But anyway, this is like the worst case scenario, right? They took our rook. Eventually, we're going to recollect that knight, and we have a lot of files to attack with. And this is the absolute best play by white, which has never even happened in a game yet. Nobody's found here, king to f1. So that was knight takes h8. We play d5. Sorry, not queen takes e4, but d5. Then queen takes e4 is coming, and with a lot of cool stuff happening with the bishop, white really needs to know what they're doing. I'll note, of course, they can't play bishop takes d5 because we're just collecting that bishop, and then are going to collect that knight, and all they've taken is a rook, so they can't lose two pieces like that. So queen e7, most people are taking the rook, but not everyone. Some people are changing their minds and playing castles. But if white plays literally any other move other than knight takes rook, we are playing here d5. d5 because for a couple of reasons, right? We want to interrupt the bishop defending the knight, but also we want to castle our own king. So let's say knight takes h8. And now here is a very important point. We don't play pawn takes c4. We play bishop to g4 first. And this is a very nice one. So now the queen is hit. Queen moves somewhere, but now we're going to take the bishop, and we're also going to take the knight, and we've gotten two pieces already. But also this position is even worse than that. You can see here queen takes c4. We can play here bishop e2 to just take lots of stuff. I think there's a couple nice games here. But, so the queen's even trapped in a lot of these lines. need to be very careful. But we're going to take the rook. We're going to take the knight. We're taking a lot of stuff here after bishop to g4. And so white is losing. f3 looks like it might be possible, but is not possible because the bishop opens up very strong right there. Just take this. Take even more. Taking the rook as well. And lots of fun stuff when your pieces are playing so well. So white has a couple other options here, although none of them are very good. You'll note c3 is the only thing the engine says can achieve equality for white, and I don't believe that's ever been played. Very odd move to play. Indeed, pawn takes d5, we can just collect the knight, and we are winning. White can try bishop takes d5, which is interesting. We actually should not take this bishop, because then they can take the rook, and they're doing fine. But we try our old reliable, and one of the main reasons of playing d5 is playing bishop g4, is to get that bishop out in the game. And white has here queen d2 and queen d3. Again, they should not move this f-pawn with that bishop in the way, and they need to get this queen into safety. Queen d3 is not a very challenging move. Most things are winning here, such as knight takes, because now we have like knight b4, tempo on the queen, we're playing knight takes c2, we're collecting that rook, we have bishop e2 as well. There's queen d2, and again we're winning, and in very, very interesting style, and I'd like to here show you a game that I found just on Leechess. It came from a different sort of move order. Let's flip that board. So after queen d2, black is playing here castles. Literally just castles. So it saves the rook, and not only that, but it activates the rook. It puts the king into this line of fire, but this bishop's about to be captured, and so that knight's going to be captured, so the knight should move. If it moves anywhere, we can just take this. So there's two games here, and both times white opted for knight h6 check, which is double check, so we have to move our king, and then to take the bishop, to at least get something out of here. But you can see the position's already completely lost, because we're going to play, like, use this f3 square, we're going to use this, we're going to use lots of pressure on f2. White just doesn't have their pieces out, and only has 1 or 2 extra pawns at this point, which is not nearly enough. So knight takes g4, knight takes g4. Now everybody's gaming up here on f2. White can try here pawn to h3, actually, instead of what's in the game. Knight takes f2 is possible, but another fun finish that I really like is to here play queen h4. Threatening knight f3 check, actually. The point being, if white plays now a move like c3, knight f3 check, attacking the king and queen, takes, queen takes h3, queen takes g4, and then this rook swings along to deliver checkmate. If white plays pawn takes knight, we can do kind of the same idea by playing knight check, takes, queen check, king over, takes, and just keep taking things until we can bring the rook around. So, white here played in the game instead c3, but queen h4 anyway. Attacking h2, white plays h3, and so, like I said, knight f3 check is winning in this position, as is, I think, a lot of things. But I think black played probably the best move. One of the best wins. I love it so much. Queen to g3. Queen to g3, an absolutely brilliant find. So basically the threat is queen to h2. If captures, knight e2, double check. Who's in double check now? King h1, knight takes g3. A phenomenal checkmate with everything being covered. These pieces just do such a great job. So queen to g3, threatening queen h2 in the game, takes the knight over here, but check. Look at all these pins. Pins. You cannot capture either of these things here, and we don't even want that queen, just queen h2 checkmate. So I think this is just a really, really good example of all the awesome threats that we can do when we play this line. So that pretty much covers knight takes f7, after which we just play queen to e7, and with d5 coming, bishop to g4 coming out, we're going to castle our king, and we make a lot of threats on the opposing king, and white needs to be very, very careful here. White has another option in this position, which is bishop takes f7 check, the second most common move. After which we play king f8, and now here white needs to be very careful again, because our next move is just going to be d6, trying to make this knight move, after which we can take the bishop. And so, for example, how a lot of people are solving the problem is to just bring the bishop right back. However, here, in this position, we play queen to e7. Attacking the knight, and of course we want the knight to move to just play queen takes e4. So for example, the most common move here, bishop f4, but we can make that knight move anyway after d6. And now here, if we continue to follow the most common move train, white is in a lot of trouble after queen takes e4. For example, bishop back, there's knight takes c2 here, winning the rook. We can also just play knight takes f3 to take this bishop. So in this position, white needs to actually know to play just knight back to d3. It's the only way for white to achieve equality here. You see knight d3, queen takes. Threatening g2 again, like the queen does a lot of damage when it takes e4, so king f1, and now our bishop's under attack, we should just come back. And the position is interesting. Pawn counts even, and we've both moved our king over. Anyway, But bishop to c4, so it's the most common move, but it's really not a dangerous one. A lot of people here are castling, which is kind of actually oblivious to this issue of d6. But what they can get away with now is what about half the people are finding here is playing c3. And our knight doesn't really have any great squares to go back to. If our knight did kind of have a way to escape this issue, then white would be losing a piece. After that, knight would have to move. But there's a pin onto our queen once our knight moves anyway. So the best we can really do here is just take this knight. And queen takes d4, white should save their bishop. And again, the position is equal. So castling really just leads to an equal position if white can find c3. White could play c3 right now as well. That's the third most common move in the position. And our knight just comes back, threatening to trade off for this knight. And since this is defending the bishop, white should trade. B takes c6 is forced. Unfortunately, we can't do our favorite capture of d takes because our queen is hanging. But after pawn takes c6, this bishop can come back either c4 or b3. Bishop c4 allows maybe d5 with tempo. Bishop b3 allows bishop to a6. That's a benefit of going b takes c6 is that now white can't castle. And so here black has some good bishops on this diagonal. These diagonals here, pressure on e4. White's not very developed and also can't castle. So black here has some compensation for the pawn, I would say. White has one very, very good move in this position, and it is again not commonly found, but it is again bishop to e3. Bishop to e3 is the best way to play yet again. And it is really taking advantage of d4. The whole point of this line for white is that they can use this dark square bishop, and bishop to e3 is very annoying because now our knight can't really move because this bishop is unprotected over here. For example, knight e6 isn't possible either because after takes, there's still a pin here. So black actually needs to be creative in order to not lose a piece. And so the best option for that is actually to play queen to e7. Queen to e7 attacking this knight, and of course, looks like that's actually a mistake because white can just take a piece here. But we play here c5. This queen needs to stay on the knight, and can only do so by going to c3. And after knight takes e4, black can take this knight back here, although the position's actually not very good. For example, like queen over, queen takes knight, and this bishop just comes back somehow. And here, the material is equal, but white's king is probably going to castle safely, and ours is a little bit exposed. So if white's able to find this bishop to e3, it's probably not looking so good for black. However, you'll note how rare this move is 4 times out of 130. And already, this was a tough find for white in the first place. So I guess technically white doesn't have to take the pawn, but it's a little bit odd to not take the pawn. I'll cover options other than that, but if you have these pieces here and f7 is hanging, it's a little bit odd to not take it. But some people are castling here, and all of a sudden, actually, that does transpose from 500 games in the database to 20,000 games in the database. But here, I'm actually still going to recommend to you to play queen to e7. Because after queen to e7, people are overwhelmingly playing knight takes f7. And then after we play our favorite move, d5, this transposes directly into the other line that we talked about after knight takes f7, queen e7, castles, we talked about this, d5. And here, black is doing fantastically, setting a lot of traps after knight takes h8, bishop to g4. You guys remember how fun this position is to play for the black pieces. So that's what I would recommend to you after castles. But I did mention that white does have a fantastic move in this position that has been found 9 times out of 511 times. I'd take my chances with it. The move is bishop to e3. However, bishop to e3 here still offers some very, very fun lines. So what I'm going to recommend to you guys to play is the move d6. And already we see we're only at 1 game in the database, after which white correctly played knight takes f7, queen to e7. And now here white needs to be careful, because if they opt for the knight to capture, we play queen takes e4, and we're attacking really just a lot of things, both these bishops here. And so this is a fraught situation for them. But white actually should take the rook in this position. And after queen takes e4, white has 1 move to keep their advantage. You can see I'll turn on the engine here. The engine does not like this for black at all. But white here should play castles to hold g2, which I think is natural enough. But we can still have some fun with this move, bishop to h3. Bishop to h3, our favorite move to keep striking, and white needs to know to play g takes h3 and actually allow this very dangerous knight f3 check. Because if they play f3, we can just take this bishop with check. Things aren't looking as bad for us. But after g takes h3, I'm going to turn off the engine here. Knight f3 check. I would like you guys to pause the video and actually think whether you should go king g2 or king h1. If you said king g2, you are wrong. Knight h4 check is now double check, so there's no block. And queen g2 is going to be checkmate next. White plays king h1. If we now move the knight, white can block with f3 and is doing fine. After bishop takes e3, I would again challenge you guys to pause the video now and find the best move for white. It's a good lesson in defense here. If white just plays pawn takes e3, after knight to h4 check, all of a sudden, black is doing fine and is recouping their material. After rook f3, knight takes rook, and here black's doing all right. There's more things hanging and more things that are going to be taken. However, white here needs to find the best move, queen to d3. Queen to d3, proposing a queen trade, and if queens are traded, it's hard to attack. So we're already several moves beyond any game that's ever been played. But if white does want to refute the Busch-Gass Gambit with the Rosen Countergambit, this is what they'd probably have to go with, finding bishop to e3 and then finding some tough defenses there after bishop takes to play queen d3. However, I think it's much, much more likely that your opponent is going to probably take on f7, as has been proven by the database, take your rook, and allow you to play d5, allow you to play queen takes e4, get this bishop out to either g4 or h3, or any of these other super fun lines. So, Eric Rosen did beat me in my own game in the Busch-Gass Gambit with the Rosen Countergambit, but I will gladly rematch him with this new theory, and I did get him in the Stafford Gambit game that we played. I'll link that video too. It was a fantastic match. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much to Eric for playing the game. I hope you guys love this Busch-Gass content. Make sure to like and subscribe, and have a fantastic day.